Hey guys, so today we are going to talk about one of the most interesting topics of all time traveling. Now, time traveling can be classified in two ways: time traveling to the future and time traveling to the past. In this video, I am going to discuss only about time traveling to the future. First of all, let me say that time traveling to the future is totally possible and there is no law in the physics that can deny it. Now we are going to discuss the ways by which you can travel to the future, and I am going to explain and check the concepts with the help of mathematics in the simplest possible way. But in order to understand time traveling, first you have to understand that time is not absolute and it can be different for different people, and this concept is called time dilation, which comes from Einstein's theory of relativity. Now special relativity indicates that for an observer in an inertial frame of reference, a clock that is moving relative to them will be measured to tick slower than a clock that is at rest in their frame of reference. In simple terms, it says that the clock ticks slow or the time passes slow for an object moving at a relatively higher speed. Now suppose for example you are a brilliant guy and one day you become an astronaut thanks to my videos, and you decided to go travel in space. Now suppose there is a very simplified version of a clock with you. Let's call it the light clock. Now this is a simple vertical clock consisting of two mirrors A and B, between which a light pulse is bouncing. The distance between the mirror is d and the clock ticks once each time the light pulse hits either of the mirror.
Okay, so now let's see that you are an astronaut and you took a light clock into space, and this is how the light clocks looks. So these are the two mirrors, mirror A and mirror B, and the light pulse is traveling back and forth in the mirror. And let's say that the distance between the two mirrors is d. Okay, so the light clock will be a stationary thing for you. It will not be moving with respect to you. So let the time elapsed for you, that is the astronaut, is delta ts. Now this time elapsed will be the time taken by light pulse from A to B and then B to A. So d plus d, that is 2d. So the distance traveled by the light pulse will be 2d, and as we know that the speed of light is c, so the delta ts, that is time elapsed for the astronaut, ts means s is for stationary because the clock will be at a stationary thing for you. So delta ts will be 2d, that is distance d plus d by c. Okay, now imagine me, whose videos you watched and became an astronaut and went to the space with a light clock, is still just making videos on Earth. So now I am on Earth, and for me, your light clock and your spaceship all are moving with a velocity v. So I am taking the speed of a spaceship relative to me, that is observer on Earth, is v. Okay, and the path of light for me will travel something like this. This is the mirrors and the light is traveling between the mirrors, but this time for me, an observer on Earth, the mirror is also traveling with a speed of v. So the light pulse will look something like this path. Okay, it is an inclined path in a straight line. Okay, so let's suppose that the time elapsed for me, an observer on Earth, is delta tm. Time elapsed from this point to this point, okay, is delta tm. So time elapsed for an observer on Earth is delta tm. Now I am taking this distance as s, this distance will be also s, and this is d. As we can see from here, the distance between two mirrors is d. Okay, so now delta tm, that is time elapsed for an observer on Earth from light pulse to go from mirror B, A to B and then to A. So it is distance upon time. The distance it travels is s plus s, 2s, and the speed of light is always c. So the time delta tm equals to distance upon speed, that is 2s by c. Okay, now also one more thing, the time taken by the light pulse to travel from this point to this point is delta tm. So half of the distance, that is from this point to this point, will be traveled in delta tm by 2 time. And as we know that the mirror, the spaceship, whole ship is moving with velocity v. So the distance from this point to this point, distance equal to speed into time. Speed, the speed is v and the time taken is delta tm by 2, because this is the complete delta time. So this will be delta tm by 2. Okay. Now what I am doing is, this is forming a right angle triangle. So I am applying Pythagoras theorem in this triangle. The hypotenuse is s, the base is v delta tm by 2, and this side is d. So now what I am doing is I am applying a Pythagoras theorem on this right angle triangle. Okay, so applying Pythagoras theorem, s square, the hypotenuse square, equals to d square plus this side, which is v delta tm by 2, so v square delta tm square by 4. Okay. Now I have made two equations earlier also. This equation delta tm equals to 2s by c, and this equation delta ts equals to 2d by c. Now I am taking d and s from this equation. So d equals to c delta ts by 2 and s equals to c delta tm by 2. The same thing I have written over here, s equals to delta tmc by 2 and d equals to delta tsc by 2. Now I am putting the value of s and d here in this equation. Okay, so let's see what happens now. So I am putting the value of s and d in this equation. So it comes to delta tm whole square c square by 4 equals to d means delta ts whole square c square by 4 plus v square delta tm whole square by 4. I am cancelling the 4, so it becomes this equation. Now I am dividing this whole equation by c square. Okay, so what remains is delta tm whole square equals to delta ts whole square plus v square by c square delta tm whole square. Okay, now I am transforming this term to the left hand side. Okay, so delta tm whole square will be common, and 1 minus v square upon c square equals to delta ts whole square. So now from this I am finding delta tm upon delta ts, which comes to be 1 upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square, and this equation is called velocity time dilation equation. Now this RHS term 1 upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square, I am saying this to be gamma. Now gamma is also called Lorentz factor, so delta tm upon delta ts equals to gamma. Okay, or delta tm equals to gamma times delta s. Now once again let's see, delta tm is the time elapsed for person on earth. Okay, the person on earth, observer, will see the clock in motion, so that is why delta tm. And delta ts, the time elapsed for astronaut on space, because the astronaut the clock will be stationary, that is delta ts. S is for stationary and m is for motion. Who will see the clock in motion? The person on earth. And who will see the clock stationary? The astronaut. Okay, now let's see what this equation means actually. First of all, let's see what gamma means. Okay, so as we know that gamma equals to 1 upon under root 1 minus v square upon c square. Now c is the speed of light, and nothing can achieve speed of light, because everything speed of light is the ultimate speed, so every other speed will be less than c. So v, which is the spaceship speed in case of ours, is less than c. Now v is less than c, therefore v square upon c square should be less than 1. 1 minus something less than 1, which means this quantity will be between 0 to 1, and 1 upon 0 to 1 is always greater than 1. So the gamma will always be greater than 1, which means delta tm will always be greater than delta ts, because delta tm equals to gamma times delta ts, and gamma is greater than 1, so delta tm will be always greater than delta ts. What it means? It means that time elapsed for the observer on earth will be more than time elapsed for the observer on astronaut. This is the time elapsed for astronaut, this is the time elapsed for observer on earth. So always, as gamma is always greater than 1, the time elapsed for the observer on earth will be more than the time elapsed for the astronaut. Okay, now let's see how we can implement this in time traveling. So let's say that you are an astronaut and you are traveling in space with a velocity that is 90% of speed of light. Okay, so v is 90% of c, that means v equals to 90 by 100 c, or v equals to 9 by 10 c. Now I'm putting this v equals to 9 by 10 c in the formula of velocity time dilation. Okay, so this is our velocity time dilation formula, and here v equals to 9 by 10 c. So I am putting the value of v in this formula, then I am getting delta tm upon delta ts equals to 1 upon under root 19 by 100. Upon simplifying, it comes like delta tm equals to 1 upon 0.4358 delta ts. Now once again, delta tm, m means motion. Who will see the clock in motion? The observer on earth. So delta tm is the time elapsed on earth, okay, for the observer. And delta ts, s is stationary. Who will see the clock in stationary? The astronaut. So this is the time elapsed for astronaut in space. So the relation is coming like this. Now let's say that the time elapsed for astronaut is 10 years. The astronaut has been in space for 10 years. Okay, So time lapse for astronaut means delta TS. So delta TS is 10 years. If delta TS is 10 years, then delta TM is what? Time lapse on Earth. So delta TM will be 10 upon 0.4358. Okay, that is nearly equals to 23 years. So for the astronaut, the time lapse is 10 years, but for all the people on Earth, the time lapse is 23 years. So if the astronaut returns back to Earth, then he has traveled 13 years into the future. 13 how? 23 minus 10 years. Okay, so suppose like you and me both are now at the age of 30 years. Okay, we are both 30 years old. Now you became an astronaut and you went to space, and I am on Earth. After 10 years you came back and you will be 40 years, but I will be 30 plus 23, 53 years. So I will be 13 years older than you. So in this way you have traveled 13 years into the future. Now this was at the speed of light equals to 90% of speed of light. The speed of spaceship was 90% of the speed of light. Now let's increase the speed of spaceship. Now let's do the spaceship speed to be 99% of speed of light. So let's say that the astronaut is traveling with v equals to 99% c, or v equals to 99 c by 100. Now when we put this into the formula of time dilation equation, so let's see, the delta TS upon 0.141 equals to delta TM. Okay, so again if the time lapse for astronaut, delta TS, if it is considered to be 10 years, then delta TM, the time lapse on Earth, will be 71 years. So you have to notice one thing here, that if I increase the speed and if I approach the speed of light, so as close as I get to the speed of light, the time dilation increases. Earlier it was just 23 years and now it is 71 years. So you have traveled 61 years into the future. So in this way you can travel into your future by traveling at a significant amount of speed of light. Okay.
So this is the correct way of time traveling to the future, and it is actually possible. There is nothing that the laws of physics disapproves of. The only thing that you have to figure out is how to achieve a significant fraction of the speed of light. But there is one more way to travel to the future that doesn't require traveling at a very high speed, and the concept behind it is called gravitational time dilation. Gravitational time dilation provides another way to travel to your future. According to this, the lower the gravitational potential, the closer the clock is to the source of gravitation, the slower time passes, speeding up as the gravitational potential increases, the clock getting away from the source of gravitation, which basically means that if you are near an object which has a high gravitational force, your time would run slower. Now as we know that black hole is the region of space-time where the gravitational force is very strong. So again, suppose you became an astronaut, but this time, instead of traveling at a significant high velocity, you decided to hang out near a black hole for some time. And because of the very high gravitational force of the black hole, your clock will tick slow as compared to the clock on Earth. So when you return back to Earth, let's say after 1 year per your time, hundreds or thousands of years have been passed on Earth, and practically you have traveled hundreds of years to the future.
Okay, so the formula for gravitational time dilation is given by T naught equals to Tf under root 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square. This whole thing is under root. Okay, so let's see here, T naught is the proper time between two events for an observer close to the massive sphere that is deep within gravitational field. You can think of T naught as the time lapsed for an observer who is close to the body which is having a high gravity like a black hole. Okay, now Tf is the coordinate time between events for an observer at an arbitrary large distance. So the observer who is at infinity from the body having a high gravity like observer on Earth. Okay, capital G is the gravitational constant, capital M is the mass of the object creating the gravitational field, the object which is creating the gravitational field like a black hole. Small r is the radial coordinate of observer within the gravitational field. Small r is your location, where are you with respect to the body having a high gravitational field, and small c is obviously the speed of light. Okay, so now the derivation of this formula is very complicated and you might get bored if I started deriving it, but I will give you a rough explanation from where this formula came. Okay, now there is something called as Einstein's equation or Einstein field equations, okay, which comes from the theory of relativity. The mathematical form of Einstein field equations looks like this. Okay, so capital G mu nu plus lambda small g mu nu equals to 8 pi capital G c to the power 4 t mu nu. Okay, now you don't have to understand all the terms. Okay, but for your curiosity, like capital G mu nu is called Einstein tensor, capital T mu nu is stress energy tensor, lambda is cosmological constant, G mu nu is metric tensor. Okay, so let's not go into the details of this equation. Just think about it like something is called as Einstein field equation, which comes from the theory of relativity. Okay, now there was a scientist named Schwarzschild who gave the solution to these Einstein field equations. Okay, so that thing is called Schwarzschild solution to Einstein field equation. Schwarzschild solution to Einstein field equations. Now the solutions look something like this. Small g. Small g is the metric tensor, which I have shown you here. Okay, small g mu nu. Okay, so the small g is equals to minus bracket 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square small c square dt square plus 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square minus 1 dr square plus r square d ohm square. Now this looks pretty complicated, but it's not that much complicated. Okay, the deriving part is very complicated, but you just think about it like the Einstein field equation solution which Schwarzschild gave looks like this. Okay, and this g, which is called a metric, is the fundamental object of study. It captures all the casual structures of space-time being used to define notions such as time, distance, volume, curvature, angle, and separation of future and past. So g is our main focus of study. Okay, so this is the Einstein solution to Einstein's field equation solutions given by Schwarzschild. Now there is one more thing called as Schwarzschild radius, which is denoted by small rs, which corresponds to the radius defining the event horizon of a black hole. Now suppose you have a black hole here, and this is the event horizon of the black hole. Event horizon is basically a boundary after which not even light can escape. So the r is the distance of the center of the black hole, and the boundary of the event horizon, the radius of the black hole is called rs, or Schwarzschild radius. It is the distance from the center of the black hole to the boundary of the event horizon. This is called rs. Okay, and Schwarzschild gives the formula for rs is equals to 2 gm upon c square. So now let's focus on this term, the term which I have under a square bracket. That's what the matrix looks like. Okay, so I am writing this term here, 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square small dt square. Now you think about dt as the time interval or ticking of the clock. This is the dt. Okay, the time interval, the time elapsed. Okay, now this time elapsed or time interval is multiplied by a quantity which is 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square. Okay, now as we know that r is equals to 2 gm upon rc square, so I am replacing this 2 gm upon rc square by rs. Okay, rs. So 2 gm upon c square is replaced by rs. So it becomes 1 minus rs upon r dt square. Okay, now again I am considering a black hole. Okay, this is event horizon, and this distance is rs, the radius of the black hole. And what is r? R is your location with respect to the black hole center. Okay, so suppose you can be here, so this is r1. You can be here, this is r2, this is r3. Okay, now suppose I am in my spaceship and I am coming from infinity towards the black hole. Okay, I am coming from infinity towards the black hole. So when I am in infinity, means my r is infinity. Okay, so r becomes infinity, so rs upon r equals to 0. So 1 minus rs upon r equals to 1. So it becomes dt square. So dt square, what I told you thought of dt, it's a time elapsed or time interval. So the coefficient of dt square is 1, which means it is only dt square. So the time interval is like going without any disruption. Okay, it's regular time interval. But as soon as you come towards the event horizon of the black hole from infinity, you are coming towards this rs location. Okay, so you are coming towards rs, r is approaching rs. So as you are approaching rs, this 1 minus rs upon r terms decreases. Why? Because this r is coming towards rs. Okay, so this r is coming towards from infinity to rs. Its value is decreasing, so this value is increasing. So 1 minus this increasing value is always decreasing. Okay, because it is always less than 1. So it is, this value is decreasing. This value is decreasing and it is multiplied by dt square. Okay, which means dt is also decreasing. Now dt, what I told you, like the ticking of the clock, the time interval. So the time interval is decreasing. So our conclusion is when we come from infinity towards the event horizon of a black hole, time ticks slower. Why? Because this black hole has a high gravitational field. So this is what gravitational time dilation looks like. Okay, when you move towards a black hole or when you hang out towards a black hole, your time ticks slower. Okay, now carefully look this term 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square. Because of this term the time is ticking slower. Okay, this term is responsible, which comes from the Schwarzschild solution to Einstein field equation. The time dilation, the gravitational time dilation occurs. Okay, now once again let's look at the gravitational time dilation equation. The gravitational time dilation equation I told you was T naught equals to Tf under root 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square. Okay, so 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square, this is the same term. So where this formula came from? This formula came from Schwarzschild radius to Einstein field equations. Okay, so it's the same thing. 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square is considered in the formula because by this much amount of time it delays. This is the coefficient of dt square. So from here you can take a rough idea where the formula comes from. Okay, now again T naught equals to Tf upon into under root 1 minus 2 gm upon rc square, and we know that rs, Schwarzschild radius, is 2 gm upon c square. So I am writing 2 gm upon c square as rs. So the formula becomes T naught equals to Tf 1 minus rs upon r. Okay, now once again, what is T naught? T naught is the time elapsed for person near the gravitational field. Okay, near the black hole. And what is Tf? Tf is the time elapsed for person at infinite distance, like on earth. Okay, so let's see how we can achieve time traveling because of gravitational time dilation. So let's say that you are an astronaut again, but this time you are not moving with a significant fraction of the speed of light, but now what you are doing is you are hanging around a black hole. Okay, so now let's suppose that this is a black hole. Okay, this is event horizon. The radius of the black hole I told you is Schwarzschild radius rs, but at this time you are at r equal to 10 times of rs distance from the black hole. Okay, here is your spaceship. So the distance of your spaceship from the black hole is 10 times of rs, Schwarzschild radius. So now I am putting this thing into the formula. So for my formula was gravitational time dilation formula was T naught equals to Tf under root 1 minus rs upon r. Okay, so r is what? 10 times rs. So the formula becomes Tf into 1 minus 1 by 10, which comes to T naught equals to Tf 0.948 times. Okay, so suppose if T naught is 10 years, what is T naught? The time elapsed for astronaut. Okay, which is here. So the time elapsed for, if the time elapsed for astronaut is 10 years, let's say if the time elapsed for astronaut is 10 years, then Tf is what? Time elapsed on earth. Time elapsed on earth will be 10 upon point. Okay, this is 10 upon 0.948 equals to 10.54 years. Okay, so you have traveled 0.54 years into your future just by hanging at a distance of 10 times of the Schwarzschild radius, and the Schwarzschild radius is very big. So you are at 10 times of the distance from the black hole, and still you have traveled to 0.54 years into the future when you came back to earth. So this is also you can travel to the future. Okay, now let's get more close to the black hole. Okay, so when we get more close to the black hole, let's say r is only 1.5 times rs. You are very close to the black hole. Okay, 1.5 times the radius of black hole. Now I'm again putting that thing into the formula. So it comes to T naught equals to Tf 0.577 times. Okay, so if T naught is what? The time elapsed for astronaut is 10 years. Okay, then Tf is 10 upon 0.577 equals to 17.33 years. So you have traveled 7.33 years into the future after you come back to earth. Okay, because the time lapse for you is 10 years, but everything else on the earth will be 17.33 years old. Old means ahead of you, 7.33 years ahead of you. So when you came back to the earth, you have traveled 7.33 years into the future. So this is the second way of traveling into the future, by hanging around near a black hole.
And it doesn't have to be a black hole always. Any massive body which has a high gravitational potential will do the job. Okay, so let's summarize what you have understood till now. Time travel to the future is possible without violating any existing laws, and there are two ways you can do it. First is to travel around the space with a significant fraction of the speed of light and then come back to Earth to see the future. And the second is to travel near a massive body having a huge gravitational potential like a black hole and then return back to Earth to see the future. And both the ways works on the principle of time dilation and are based on the concept that time is not absolute. You might spend 10 years in space traveling with a near speed of light or hanging around near a black hole, and when you return to the Earth you will find that hundreds of years has been passed, all depending upon how fast you were traveling or how close you were to a black hole. So thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you have learned something, and if you like the video then please like, share and subscribe to my channel. In the next video, I am going to explain about a much bigger and controversial question: is time traveling to the past possible?